Hey guys, it's the Joker here, back to you today with another video. And today I just wanted to take the time to talk about the fact that I feel so old for my age. And I know that obviously for most normal people, 26 is not old at all. For most people, for most normal people. But for me personally, I feel old for my age. And you know what's interesting about it too is the fact that, I've literally felt old even since I was about 17 years old, since 2014. 17 years old, honest to God, was the first age in which that I felt old at. And the reason why I did, and I'll explain to you all why. Let's take a trip back in time and go back in my past, and I'll just tell you all. So I remember celebrating my 17th birthday, of course, years ago, obviously. And I went with my dad and two of my younger brothers, one who's a couple years younger than me and one who's 4 years younger than me. And we went to Subway. And I remember sitting in the seat at the restaurant at Subway and thinking to myself, damn, I'm old. Like, shit, I am old. And I was just in a really deep thinking state, thinking that to myself, obviously not out loud, but just quietly in my mind, thinking to myself, man, I'm old. And I don't mean like old as fuck, but I just felt like, wow, like I'm already 17. Like I can't even, take all this in. And the reason why I felt old, even at the age of 17, is because, first of all, I don't know if any of you ever think about this yourselves, and you probably didn't. And most of you probably don't and never do. But, 17 is only 1 year away from turning 18. Just 1 year. That's it. And 18 years old is at the age in which that you, as a person, whether you're a guy or a girl, are legally and officially an adult. Obviously, a really young adult. But, at the age of 18, you have, a lot of responsibilities already at that age. Like, for one, most 18-year-olds will move out of their parents' home. Either that or they'll literally just get kicked to the curb by their parents. Like, there are so many parents in America, and I cannot tell you how many times I have heard this, reoccurring story where, a father for his sons and daughters' 18th birthday will give them moving boxes. Like, they won't even say shit. They'll just give their sons or daughters moving boxes for their 18th birthday to pretty much say, get the fuck out of my house. I'm done taking care of you. Because by society's law or whatever, or rule, parents are only required and expected to provide for their children until they're 18. Past that age, they don't have to do shit for them. And if their sons and daughters don't have their life together, their life in order, their shit together, if they don't have, things set in place, and if they haven't, had their lives or themselves figured out yet, that's on them. That's on their children. If they, don't have their life together and have their life in check, have their life in order, have their shit together. And, I was depressed as fuck as a teenager. And when I was sitting in that Subway at that specific restaurant and sitting at the table and just thinking to myself, how depressed I was because, it's not like I had my life together. I didn't have my shit in order. I didn't have things set in place for me. I wasn't anywhere, near or close to being able to move out like within a year. And, thanks to the kind and type of parents that I had, that I was born to and, raised by, for being just so very patient with me and a lot of my other siblings too, where they, allowed me and a lot of my other adult siblings to still keep living with them even years after we turned 18. So many of my adult siblings still lived with my parents for years after they turned 18. Most of us did. The majority of my siblings and myself still live with my parents as adults. But when it comes to most parents in America, especially most of all, it's a very common and popular and also normal thing for, 18-year-olds to move out of their parents' house and, start their own life, go on their own journey or own adventure. And, whether the son or daughter makes that decision and choice on their own or their parents make it for them. Because most parents in America, the vast majority of parents in America, will literally, and I don't mean like physically, but I just mean, metaphorically speaking, they will kick their sons and daughters to the curb by the time they turn 18 years old. Whether or not they have their life figured out or have their life in order and have things set in place and set in motion or whatever, and whether or not they, have money, have a car, have a job or whatever, they'll still kick their sons and daughters out of their house. That's very common and very normal and very popular for parents in this country of America to do that to their kids. But what's also interesting is the fact that in other countries, it's normal, common, and popular for, adult children to still keep living with their parents. Like, a lot of other countries are different than America. Other countries have, different cultures and, different things that they deem normal. And one of the things that they deem normal in certain specific countries are, big families and, families still living with each other. But in America, that's not popular. That's not normal. What's normal and popular is for, sons and daughters to move out of their parents' home at the age of 18 years old. Usually. Either by their own choice or their parents. Like, if the sons and daughters don't want to make that choice and decision on their own, their parents will make it for them. And gladly. And, when I was 17, even at that age, I felt extremely guilty that, that unlike most people, I was not normal and never was. I was a complete and total weirdo. Even as a teenager, I knew this for an all-around fact. Even when I was as young as 17 years old, think about that for a second. Even at that age, I felt guilty. I felt ashamed, humiliated, embarrassed, depressed, crushed, heartbroken, you name it. Because, I didn't have a car. I didn't have any money to buy one or any other kind and type of vehicle in case I wanted some other type of vehicle that wasn't a car. Not that I really have a vehicle that I really even want the most. I'm not really that picky when it comes to a vehicle. I just want, a decent one, a pretty good one. Even if it's used, I want one that has low mileage. And if it does have high mileage, I would, greatly appreciate it if the previous owner put a new engine, new transmission, new brakes, new gas pedal and shit like that. And, new wheels, new tires, just tried to fix it up as best as they possibly could. So it's pretty much in a way like a used but like refurbished car, if you will. And but anyways, like when I was 17, I did not have a job. I did not try that hard to get a job. Not that I didn't try at all, but I didn't try that hard. That's the point. And I didn't have, any money, saved up to buy a vehicle of, my own for myself with my own money. And I also didn't have, money to save up to, move out of my parents' house when I would have turned 18, even though I would have loved to do so more than anything. And, also at the age of 15 and 16 years old, I didn't have a job either at either of those ages also. And, the reason why I was so crushed and heartbroken and depressed and miserable and, stressed out, anxious, whatever, is also because, what's kind of funny and sad is for years now, I have every now and then, every once in a while, been getting into it with stupid shitheads online, both guys and girls. And, I'll have like countless guys and girls, both online on the internet, who will, gang up on me or whatever. And sometimes they'll say things like, I've been working since I was 9 years old. What's your excuse? I've been working since I was 12 years old. What's your excuse? And, obviously, how do you expect that's going to make me feel? It's going to make me feel like shit. It's going to make me feel like garbage, especially considering and knowing the fact that I hadn't even been working since the age of 15, 16, or 17 years old. Unlike most people, unlike the vast majority of the human race. And, when I get into it, and again, believe me when I say that I have gotten into it with so many people on the internet for years, even since I was a teenager, years before even starting my YouTube channel, I would get into it with people and they would tell me on YouTube, Instagram, whatever, like, I've been working since I was 9. What's your excuse? I've been working since I was 12. What's your excuse? And I think that's pretty, fucking insane, to say the least, because, I wouldn't say that's normal. For a guy or girl to have been working since they were 9 or 12 years old, like, that shit's crazy. Most children do not work. I mean, hell, most people in their early teens don't even work. Most people don't start working until about, 15 to 17 years old at the very youngest. But did I? No, I didn't. And, when I was 17 years old, that's why I felt old for my age. Because, I just felt so terrible, horrible, and awful that, I was a year away from, turning 18 when I was 17, of course. And, I didn't have anything in my life set in place. I didn't have anything in my life in order or in check. I didn't have my shit together, as some people would put it. And, I was nowhere close to, having a life like that. Not anywhere close. And, the other reason why I felt old, even as young as 17 years old, is because, when you're 18, I mentioned earlier in this video that, there's a lot of, choices and decisions that you can make, or a lot of responsibilities, if you will, that you have, when you turn 18, such as you can uh, schedule your own appointments, doctor appointments, dentist appointments, etc. You know, you have responsibilities. Even as young as 18 years old, you don't need, your parents' permission to, do whatever. And like, you don't need them to help you schedule appointments or whatever. Like, you can do all that shit on your own then by the age of 18. And also, you know, and like I said, just responsibilities in general, life responsibilities or adult responsibilities. And, I think the reason why I also felt old, even when I was 17 years old, is because of the fact that, this is going to be kind of funny what I'm about to say here. When I was a kid and in my early to mid and even a little bit late teens, up until like the age of 16, I would say, well, maybe not 16, but especially when I was a kid and maybe in my early teens at the oldest, I would go over to my aunt's and grandma's house and watch a lot of TV because my parents and in the home and family that I was raised in, we didn't really have cable television. I mean, we got it sometimes, but we would always eventually get rid of it. Well, our dad would, because he was sick and tired of paying for it, and he hated how addicted that his children were to, cable television, whatever. But as a child, I would go over to my grandma's and aunt's house a lot and watch cable television, like cartoons and shit, and also like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, all that. And when the commercials would come on, like the ads, they would have these, really pretty cool, neat ads that I really liked and enjoyed, back in the good old days, back in the 2000s, back when I was a kid and wasn't suffering and didn't have, my ear problems or anything like that either. I would see these commercials about like these, I don't know, these toys or these products that you could, get or whatever. And at the end of the ad, they would have, of course, that like guy who spoke really fast. And one of the things he would say was like, you could call this number to order this, item or product or whatever, but you have to be 18 years of age or older to order it. And I remember when I was a kid back in the good old days, and I so miss my childhood. My ears weren't broken. They weren't weak and fragile and delicate and have all these just heartbreaking problems, because it's not like I'll ever be able to, fix my ears, and it's not like they'll ever be as strong as they once were and used to be when I was a child. And even in my early teens, they were strong and didn't have all the problems that I had since I was 17 years old in late 2014. But anyways, anyways, so I'm sorry. I'm dozing out here a bit. So I remember being a kid and thinking to myself, 18 years old is so far away. But, when I also was a kid, I thought to myself, 18 years old is so, big and so cool. And like, I can't wait to be 18. My life is going to be, so cool and awesome and great and all that. And, when I was a child and, when I used to be happy and full of life and full of joy and at peace and relaxed and was having so much fun and excitement in my life as a child when I used to be a kid, I remember thinking to myself, I can't wait to be 18. Man, 18 is so big. It's like so far away. It's going to be, so fun and cool and exciting. When I turn 18, I'll be able to like, call these numbers and buy these products, and I'll be able to do so when I turn 18. And also what's kind of also funny is also when I was a kid, when I was a child and would get my, state ID, for example. And when I would look at my state ID and it would say like under 18 until February 12, 2015, meaning like February 12, 2015 would be the day, month, and year that I would turn 18 years old. And I remember as a kid, and even in my early teens, when looking at my state IDs and thinking to myself, man, 18 years old is so far away. It's going to be so long before I turn 18. Like, it's years away. It's so far away. But then when I was 17, the moment I turned 17, I thought to myself, like literally the day I turned 17, I thought to myself, shit, I'm only a year away from turning 18. Man, time does fly. What was funny and interesting when I was a kid, time seemed to, stand still for, for a bit, or to a certain extent. When I was a kid, my childhood felt like, for the most part at least, to go by fairly slow. And, I always thought to myself, even, by the time I'm 18, that's going to be years away, so far away, just like so in the future. I couldn't even like imagine what, being 18 or turning 18 would be like, or the year 2015, just that was years away and years into the future at the time, of course. And, but then when I turned 17, I was just blown away, and I was just so taken back by the fact that I was 17 already. And, by the time I was 17, that's around the time when my life started to, I would say move more fast, or maybe even more so in my 20s. I would say actually more so in my early 20s, as a matter of fact. But, I mean, but even at the age of 17, I just could not believe, it took me a while to comprehend the fact that, I was already 17 years old. Already. I was already 17. I honestly just could not believe it. And I was just so shocked and stunned that, I was a year away from turning 18. Just 1 year. 1 year, one single year. That's it. That's all. From being 18, from turning 18. That's literally how I felt when I was 17 years old. And I know most of you probably never felt that way when you were 17. And what's also sad is the fact that, I only felt young when I was a child and in my early teens. I will say at the very oldest that I felt truly young at, even though I was suffering since the age of 15 and going through a lot of just emotional torment and trauma and shit because of high school and whatnot, that literally did traumatize me, even pretty much for life, I guess, if you want to put it that way, or if you want to believe me. Anyways, so I felt young up until the age of about 16 years old. I literally did. At the oldest age that I felt still, young at, or fairly young, was when I was 16 in 2013. And that was years ago. And I miss even being 16. There were still at least some moments of happiness and joy when I was, 16, 17, moments. But overall, it was hell for me since the age of 15. But, 17 years old was the last age that my ears were, strong and fine and working just perfectly well. But then in late 2014, when I went to California to spend time with my grandparents, and because of the elevation change going up and down through the mountains that I'm not at all used to, really fucked up my ears and seriously did a number on them and broke them pretty much. Like, I'm not deaf, thank God, but I've worried that I may end up going deaf. I don't know, like something is coming out of my right ear and I don't know what it is. Sometimes I can feel it, but I just can't seem to get it. And I don't know if it's my, bone from my ear. I hope it's not, but it just feels like something that's been wanting to come out for a long time now, like years now. And I wish I would have gotten ear tubes at the age of 18 in 2015, like very soon after, my ear problem happened. Not even a year later. I wish I would have gotten tubes way back then, before I was even 20 years old. And then, my ears would have been back to normal. But because I waited to get ear tubes, even though I didn't want to wait myself, I tried for so many years and I begged and pleaded to both of my parents to, take me to an ear, nose, and throat doctor and get me ear tubes and help me get ear tubes and whatnot. And I didn't have the money to pay for it. I didn't have a license or my own car or anything like that, because otherwise I would have done it myself. But I wasn't able to, because I was lazy and I was an idiot and a moron and a stupid fucking retard and a fool for not getting a job when I was a lot younger, a lot sooner and earlier in my life. And I can only wish I would have done that. I can only, look back on my past and wish I would have done more things when I was younger. I really do. But knowing that I'm 26 now, I really do feel like my life is over. I truly do feel like my life is over. And, I know a lot of you may hate to hear me say that, but I'm just telling you the honest truth. I'm just literally telling all of you how I actually feel, like legit. I'm heartbroken. You think I love this? You think I like this? You think I enjoy telling you all this, that my life is over and that it never began for me? Of course not. But that's the truth. That's the reality of things. And, I don't have any money. I don't have a job. I don't have a car. I have a driver's license, but that's about it. That's about all I have. That's, I would say the closest thing to, any accomplishment in my life that I have ever done, getting my driver's license. And even then, it's not that big of a deal because I got it when I was 25, even though most people, most humans, most normal people, unlike me, got their driver's license back when they were teenagers and have been fucking driving around cars and shit since they were like 15, 16 years old. And that's normal. And that's what's the most, common and popular, age range or time period for most people to start driving, even throughout history. But when it comes to me, on the other hand, nope, I didn't get my driver's license until I was 25. Damn, I'm just so disappointed and upset with myself. I really am. Another reason I also feel old for my age is because, think about it. I'm 26 years old and a virgin. A guy who's never had a girlfriend, never had anything close to a girlfriend. And, I didn't have, my first job until I was 24 years old, which was a fast food restaurant job that I only stayed at for 2 months and left because I was an absolute bitch, because the girl that I really liked and had a crush on, who was also quite a bit younger than me, but she was extremely pretty. Like, oh my God, I cannot even begin to describe to you all. Like, words cannot describe how fucking pretty and beautiful and stunning and gorgeous and hot she was. I even talked to her a little bit, but not much. And it was only because one time she was in the back room when I was like doing the dishes or whatever at my old job at Popeyes, whatever. And then after quitting that job within just 2 months because she had a boyfriend, and of course she did, obviously, that shouldn't be surprising at all. And I mean, I saw her boyfriend anyways, I mean, from inside the car, because I mean, she's pretty, so of course she's going to have a boyfriend. All pretty girls do. And, I mean, if she would have been single, then hell, I would have definitely attempted to ask her out. I definitely would have, or at least tried to. I would have tried to work up the confidence to ask her out, because I was able to work up the confidence to talk to her a little bit, even though it was a very brief, like moment in which that I, talked to her, even just a little smidgen amount or bit. And then I got another job that was a plastic blending factory warehouse job. And then I was fired from that job within a month. And then that was when I was 25, or soon after turning 25 in early 2022. And then I got another job that was a styrofoam operator job, my most recent job. And I had that job for almost 3 months, and then I quit after 2 months and about a half. Or 2 months and almost a half. And it's like, I don't have my own car. I was borrowing my parents' car, which is a piece of junk, and it's very old. It has a lot of miles on it. The brakes barely work. The gas pedal barely works. I mean, when you turn, it makes this awful sound. When you try to go 70 miles per hour, it starts shaking really rapidly and vigorously or aggressively. And, I don't have the kind of money to even buy a used car. I mean, have you looked up the prices of used cars lately? Because I sure have, and they're expensive as fuck. They're crazy, insane expensive. They're just ridiculous in price. I mean, used cars honestly are about as expensive as new cars. I'm dead serious. And, but yeah, like, I've hardly accomplished anything in my really pathetic, pitiful, worthless life. And the only like real accomplishment I really did was, getting my driver's license, which I was 25 years old when I got it. And, I had, 3 jobs already, starting in late 2021 when I was 24. And, I just cannot believe I had 3 jobs already. And, quit 2 and got fired from 1. So, my life is just, I don't know, it's just falling apart. And honest to God, I just feel so useless. Like, I just do not serve any, actual purpose or meaning in my life. And I'm just crushed. I really am torn apart emotionally. And I don't expect any of you to understand how I feel. Just how bad and sorry for myself that I really do feel. And just how, I don't know, like, I don't know what else to say. And so, yeah, like, of course I feel old for my age at the age of just 26 because, I've had ear problems since, 17 years old. I didn't move out at the age of 18 years old in 2015, even though that's what most, sons and daughters do, and that's what's popular and normal in America, at least, and I would say in other Western countries and cultures. And I didn't have a girlfriend as a teenager, didn't have anything close to one, never got, anywhere close to having one. I didn't get my driver's license as a teenager. I didn't have a car as a teenager. I didn't have a job as a teenager. I didn't have gaming consoles growing up and video games of my own as a child. I didn't have gaming consoles and video games as even a teenager. I didn't have a gaming computer as a teenager. I hardly had that many life experiences, unlike most people. And I'm already 26. I'm 4 years away from turning 30. Just four. Well, now even less than 4 because, actually, no. Because we're still in February. So, yeah. So 4 years. For a second, I thought we were in March. I'm sorry. And, the way I look at my life and, ever since I've been getting older and just, aging and keep moving forward and progressing into the future, like age-wise, I just think to myself, why should I bother to celebrate my birthday when, it's just a constant reminder of how much of a failure and a lowlife I am, how much just a worthless piece of scum I am. And also, like, I'm just 1 year closer to my death. Just 1 year closer. Like, the older I get, the closer I'm getting to my death. And that's the same for everyone. And I don't know if most of you think that way, but I think only people who have really suffered and been through a lot of hardships in their life think pretty deeply like that. Like myself, for example. And, I don't know, like, I don't know, I'm just so done with this world and this life and the people in it. And I'm not going to take my life, even though it may seem like it, I'm not. But the only people who I'm ultimately living for and staying and remaining alive for is my parents, is my family. That's it. And also, I don't want to increase or risk the chances of me burning in hell for all eternity, even though most likely I'll die probably pretty young because of all the suffering I've been going through in my life and just difficulties and hardships and whatnot. I do have a feeling I'll die young, like broken heart or whatever, or my head will burst, or I don't know, die in my sleep or something, and if that's the case, if I end up dying young, I'm definitely going to hell, unless, of course, God himself, has absolute mercy on my soul, or if Mary, his mother, allows me to come in and is like a lawyer for me in the afterlife and, sticks up for me or whatever and, defends me or whatever. Like, I don't know. If that doesn't happen, then I'm definitely doomed and I'm going to perish and burn in hell for all eternity. So, and I don't want to end up going there because my life has already been hell. I mean, I've already suffered so much for so long. I mean, why would it be fair for me to go to hell? That wouldn't be fair at all. But I don't know. We'll see what happens because it's up to God. Ultimately, it's not up to me. It's not my choice and decision. But anyways, let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I'm out.